Welcome to WTF Media. If you love crazy, unbelievable stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. Let's jump right into today's story. Jesus Christ. Could anything else go wrong? Work is now a daily trial to survive, and the one person who I trusted more than anyone else is the one causing me the most grief. Perhaps I should explain how this all started. I, Jim Anderson, met my wife Kate on my first day of work at Chisholm Engineering. I was 18 and nervously attended my first day of work a few weeks after final school exams. I had done well and could have headed off to college, but knew it wasn't for me. I'd had enough of education, and my parents couldn't afford to support me through 3 years of university. Kate was the human resources assistant, supporting the company induction, and was drop dead gorgeous. It took me 3 months to build up enough courage to ask her out. It was surely just a case of how gentle the rejection would be. Only she didn't. She actually said yes and asked where we were going. I was so certain she would reject me, I hadn't even thought of anywhere. Move on 20 years, and amazingly, we both still worked at the same firm. We'd also been happily married for 18 those years. I headed up the project management team, whilst Kate had a meteoric rise to become director of human resources at the sizable engineering plant. Everything was fantastic. We had 2 great kids, Amy 16 and Jack 14, who were both doing well, a lovely home, and a comfortable lifestyle. John Newcomb had been my best mate since primary school. We'd started knocking about with Rob Turner at high school and stayed friends, with Rob's younger brother Paul tagging along a few years later. Paul was the only bachelor between us. The rest of us were married and the wives were all close, having known each other for years. Paul was more focused on his career than the rest of us. I'd recommended our company to him and was delighted when he landed the Director of Operations role. It was a very well-paid job, and we celebrated accordingly. Paul explained he was surprised to get it, as Old Man Chisholm had given him a really hard time during the interview. 6 months later, the 4 of us were having a few pints on a Friday night. When I mentioned Kate being a bit off and distracted recently, I raised it as I thought the other wives might have mentioned something to my friends, especially if it was anything medical. Nothing had been said. The guys were all concerned and agreed that it was highly unusual for Kate. I admitted that the thought of an affair had crossed my mind. The guys didn't believe that could be true, but asked what was making me think that. I had trouble explaining it other than something that just felt off. Paul hadn't said anything at that point, then suddenly launched into an all-out defense of my wife, saying he worked with Kate and there was absolutely no way she would even look at another guy. What's more, I was a complete idiot for ever thinking she would. It was almost a rant. I thought it very strange. Paul's defense was just too vehement. When I looked around, I wasn't the only one surprised. I remembered that he'd often flirted with Kate, lots of jokes and small touches, and since working at the firm, they'd been away on a couple of business trips. I was staring at him, trying to work things out. He didn't react, but he was starting to look guilty and was hyper-agitated. Rob knew him better than anyone and picked up on it too. He looked at his younger brother. "Please tell me you're not that stupid." At the same time, I almost shouted, "So when did you start fucking my wife?" Chaos erupted and we both stood. I tried to attack each other, but John and Rob just managed to keep us apart. Rob dragged his younger brother outside and told him to fuck off. "But my brother. I mean, it fuck off before I kick the shit out of you myself. You stupid, arrogant prick." John and Rob tried to say it might not be as bad as I thought, and that I needed to talk to Kate to find out the truth. I agreed and traipsed home. When I got there, Kate was sitting at the kitchen table crying. "I take it Paul called to warn you then. Is it true?" Kate didn't deny it, but did downplay it, saying it wasn't an affair. Seemingly, they had messed around on a business trip together. I dug enough to confirm messing around constituted sex. She swore it was an alcohol-fueled one-off, but I wasn't convinced. Rob's heartfelt defense of her made it feel like there was more involved. I'll admit, my reaction was unyielding. I didn't give a shit if it was once or 100 times. Cheating was cheating, and I had been completely blindsided. Kate couldn't explain her actions, or why, and her apologies all felt meaningless. In the following months, we separated and were heading for divorce. That was bad enough, but to make things worse, Kate started seeing Paul again. That pretty much confirmed my suspicion that there had been more to it than a one-off. The pints with John and Rob stopped. It was awkward with their wives being friends of Kate. They did ask, but I wasn't in the mood for company, and I had little money to spare. I also thought they'd be socializing as a group, especially with Paul being Rob's brother. Losing your wife to one of your best friends really was a miserable experience. It felt like I had divorced my whole life. Kate won custody of our 2 kids, and she kept our house. I knew Paul spent time there. Despite that, I was still paying for half of the mortgage, plus child support. All I could afford was a shitty little flat in the crap end of town. That didn't help with the kids. They weren't too keen to stay over and wanted to spend time with their friends who all lived near our old house. At first, I took them for days out spending any spare cash I had on trips, which we had all loved and had done regularly since they were little. Then, the timing conflict started. They were going on a city break with Kate and Paul, then a school trip away, then a stayover with friends. It was a never-ending list of excuses. In the end, I had hardly seen them for the past 2 months and was really missing them. If it wasn't for their sports, I might have lost touch completely. I had always covered their sporting events and had coached them both in football. Kate never attended, preferring to give herself some downtime. Now both she and Paul attended everything. At half-time in Amy's football match, I asked Kate why she was there. She got all indignant, saying they were her kids. You never bothered before. Well, I thought it would be good for the kids to show support for them through our breakup. As long as you are doing it for them, not for yourself, or to prove a point, you wouldn't do anything as shallow as trying to rub my face in it with your boyfriend. Don't be ridiculous. We're finished, and I have no interest in you at all now. As she said that, she stepped inside Paul's arm and cuddled in. Work was just torture. I had to put up with seeing Kate and Turner regularly. The worst thing was never-ending barrage of comments from the guys on his team. They seemed to enjoy baiting me. I knew they were looking for a reaction and managed to keep my temper in check. Thankfully, my team was a saving grace, in particular, a new hire called Josh. He was ex-military, only in his late 20s, and had lost both legs. He didn't explain what had happened, so I didn't ask. Depending on his level of pain, he either used artificial legs or shortened versions that he called stubbies. He was really reserved and quiet, keeping his own company mostly. When it came to logistics, though, he was a Jedi master. I had never known anyone who could retain so much information and respond to complex changes so effectively. I was surprised one day when he quietly asked was I was putting up with so much shit. I tried to explain my tales of woe and crap in my life, and immediately felt stupid given everything he must be dealing with. He looked at me with a serious expression. It comes down to a simple choice. Get busy living or get busy dying. Did the military instill that in you? He started laughing uncontrollably. Not a chance. It's far too profound. It's a quote I ripped off from the film Shawshank Redemption. The British infantry version would be, "Just get on with it, you wanker." I joined in with his laughter, realizing it had been months since I'd had a good laugh. I finally saw a bit of light at the end of the tunnel when Marie, an accountant for the firm, asked me out. I hadn't even thought about dating, and she took me by surprise. I had known her for years and knew she was divorced. She was a lovely person. We dated a few times before Kate got wind of it. I heard rumors Kate was slagging her off and calling her a slut, but couldn't prove anything. Marie came over to meet the kids, but they were absolutely horrible, ignoring her initially, and then reciting their mother's opinion of her. I was mortified by their behavior and told them so. Marie was a gentle person and got really upset before she insisted on leaving, despite my apologies. I told the kids to go home to their mums whilst struggling to contain my temper. I called Marie numerous times. When she eventually picked up, she explained that she didn't want to cause any problems with my family, and it was better to call a halt now rather than later. I was absolutely gutted. I think I was done, no matter how I tried to do the right thing. I got shit on from a great height. I might as well give up. Then Josh's comments came back to me. I was trying to find some positives in my life when Amy informed me that Paul had promised to buy her a car and driving lessons for her 17th birthday. I was furious, but said that I would need to discuss that with her mother first. Amy stomped off in another huff. I called Kate asking how my 16-year-old daughter was about to own a car without me knowing anything about it. You know I wanted to teach the kids to drive, and I certainly don't want her owning a car yet. Why not? It's a lovely thing for Paul to do. Don't be upset just because you can't afford it. So, you'll be happy with her driving around parties with her friends. Do you have any idea how many road accidents involve kids that age? I wanted to ease Amy into things. Just let her use our cars until she was more mature and we could trust her. Oh, well, no. I hadn't thought about that. I guess that would be a worry. And since when do I get to cut out of all the decision-making involving kids in favor of your boyfriend? I am their guardian. Wrong we both are. You just happen to have custody. You'll be telling me that fucker wants to adopt them next. Don't be ridiculous. I agree we should have asked you first. I will tell her we won't do it. Great. So I'll be the bad guy again, ruining her chances of a car, and Paul stays the hero. Are you two deliberately trying to cause problems between me and Amy, or is it just a gift you have? Of course not. Paul is just trying to be supportive and bond with the kids. Tell him to back off. He has you and seemingly my kids, but I am their father. I have a right to be included in these decisions. I'm sorry, okay? Those words didn't match her tone, which sounded disdainful. How many times are you going to apologize after making selfish decisions? Try changing your actions instead. Think about someone else other than yourself. You and Turner are certainly meant for each other. You're like two peas in a pod. What is that supposed to mean? You sound jealous, Jim. You were the one who left me, remember. If you hadn't, we would have still been making these decisions together. And you were the one who fucked around. It's pointless bringing that shit up again. We need to do what is right for the kids. I don't want them spoilt. They should earn things and be self-sufficient. Amy can do a part-time job if she wants to save up for a car, and then we can help her, not just give her everything on a plate. I was angry with Kate's comment about not being able to afford to help. That was because I was still paying the mortgage and child support. It was infuriating, especially seeing as Turner seemed to be spending a lot of time there. Trying to deal with Kate was like repeatedly dashing my head against a wall and getting the same result. I saved up everything and reckoned I could just about afford it. I phoned Kate to make sure the kids would be there on Friday for the weekend pickup. Surprise, surprise, they had a trip arranged and forgot to tell me. I had to threaten her with the family court before she agreed I could go over on Friday to see them. Prior to them leaving Saturday afternoon, I stood in our old kitchen, remembering happier days. The kids sat at the table, and Kate stood at the bench, just like old times. I suggested a holiday, the one we had planned as a family for years, a road trip through Europe in the summer. Amy had wanted to see as many European capital cities as possible, whilst Jack wanted to do Via Ferrata climbs and adventure sports in the Alps. It wouldn't be cheap, but I was willing to spend everything I had and borrow the rest. The kids were enthusiastic and started talking about the different places we could visit. At last, a positive, they had responded how I'd hoped. I saw Kate looking thoughtful. That was supposed to be our family holiday, Jim. We planned it together. Well, we can't do it together now, and it's probably the last chance we get before Amy is away holidaying with friends. Just then, Paul came into the kitchen like he owned the place. Jack excitedly told him about the trip. Paul nodded and said it sounded great, then added, "I guess we can do our holiday another time." All three turned to him in unison and asked, "What holiday?" "Well, I was thinking of a summer-long trip across the United States. You pick the route, but it could include Disney, then jumping across to the West Coast, doing La and the Pacific Coast Highway." Amy interrupted, "Oh my God, that would be an amazing trip." "Don't see why not. We could call in there for a few days to break up the flights back to Blighty." Jack was straight into questions about the rides at Universal and if they could go to Busch Gardens or a Six Flags park. He loved all the thrill rides. I never hated a person more in that moment. He knew he had me. I could hardly insist on a lesser trip when they were so excited. I stood and walked out of the kitchen, doubting anyone noticed me leaving. I had just gotten to my car door when Kate caught up with me. Jim, I am sorry about your trip." "Answer me one question truthfully, Kate. Is that the first you have heard of this holiday?" "Well, yes. I don't think Paul had had the chance to tell us about it. I am sorry it conflicts with your idea." "Jesus, Kate, you're not that stupid. He just made it up on the spot, and I can guarantee nothing is booked. He is taking my kids away from me, and you're helping him. What the fuck did I do to deserve that?" "I am sure it's an innocent clash." I'd finally had enough. You keep saying sorry, and then do the exact same things over. So here is what is going to happen. Tell your boyfriend this. The next time I have the slightest issue with access or being excluded from parenting my children, I will take the matter up with him directly." "Are you actually threatening us, Jim?" "Talking to you is like pissing into the wind. So, yeah, I am trying a different tact and will live with the consequences." "You wouldn't hurt us." "Maybe not you, though you deserve it. He, on the other hand, is due some payback. You and he should think carefully before you put someone in a position with nothing to lose, and that's exactly where you've put me." I looked up to see Paul standing at the door. I half expected him to attack me. He was bigger after all, but he just scuttled back inside the house. I saw the disappointed look on Kate's face, but she covered it quickly. "There you see, a real man doesn't resort to threats of violence." "No, he runs away, it seems." I calmed myself, looking back at Kate. "Are you trying to win their affections and alienate me? They are my kids, not his. I'd like to think I am a good dad. You should want me involved instead of playing pathetic games." Kate seemed to have lost the ability to speak. "It's not. You are. This shouldn't be a competition, but let's admit it. You've won. I've lost. You got the house, the money, our friends, the rich boyfriend, and the kids. Your winning doesn't mean I have to lose every time, Kate. The old Kate would have realized that well before me." She just stood there, open-mouthed, not saying a word. "For God's sake, I give up. I want to talk to the kids again, tomorrow without the fuckwit in attendance." I jumped into my car and sped off, leaving Kate standing there looking like a goldfish. I made sure Turner wasn't there before I went in. The kids slumped down on the couch in our old living room, looking as if it was a great effort on their behalf, whilst Kate stood at the doorway. "Don't worry, I won't take up much of your time." No verbal response, but Jack managed to look up at me. "I know the breakup is hard for you both, and I wanted to remind you how much I love you." Kate looked surprised that I had included her. "But I don't. What is happening with you guys? I can barely recognize you these days. You're great kids, but now you've developed this snotty attitude like nothing is good enough. I love you to bits, but I deserve better than to be messed around. If you want to move on with your mum and Paul, I will back off. If you want stuff and big holidays, then Paul is your man. What I won't do is show up every weekend to hear some lame excuse about you being busy." Kate tried interrupting. "I hardly think." "Yeah, well, I've heard enough of what you think, and I am talking to my kids, potentially for one of the last times. I can't buy you the things he does, but I'd still like to spend time with you both. Do sports, go camping, whatever it is you want. I know it's not Florida or wherever, but it would be us together, and you'll both be off to college in no time at all." Still no response other than looking awkward and fidgeting. "The way you guys behaved with Marie was unforgivable. What gives you the right to treat someone in that manner? That is not how we brought you up. I have never been so embarrassed of my own family. I hope you're all happy. She won't have anything to do with me." Kate riled at that. Well, she wasn't good enough, Really, Kate, what did she ever do to you? She is a lovely person, and all she did was agree to go out with me. You were fucking Loverboy when we were married, and I never slagged him off. But well done, you have scared her off, worried about my psycho ex, wife and kids. I winced, realizing I had said all of that and sworn in front of the kids. Both Amy and Jack looked shocked. That information seemed to be a revelation to them. I turned to Kate, and another thing, thanks to Turner rubbing lack of funds into my face. I checked with the child maintenance agency, and they reckon I should have offset the mortgage against some of the child support. So you can expect an assessment and revision. Maybe Loverboy can step up and pay towards my house that he seems to be living in. Amy piped up and looked at her mum. Dad's still paying. Her voice trailed off, and Kate was back to her goldfish impression. The kids didn't look much brighter. It didn't look like I was going to get a response from any of them. I stood up in frustration yet again, mumbled something about letting me know, and left. I was back at my pokey flat, wondering if I could afford to move. I neglected to mention to Kate that my lawyer advised me to keep going with the mortgage payments and reduce the child support. It guaranteed a roof over my kid's head, but he reckoned it might turn out to be a good investment as property prices were skyrocketing, and once Jack left home in a few years, she would either have to sell or buy me out. My phone rang. It was Amy. I found myself wondering what the next tribulation in my life would be. I answered with Amy, saying she had Jack on speaker. She spoke in a hurry. "We've worked out. We owe you 6 weekends and 4 weeks vacation, and wondered if you would still want to do that tour through Europe this summer." Her words poured out in a nervous jumble. "You remember those places?" "Of course, we talked about it for years, and it should be a lot warmer than Scotland." "And Dad, well, we're sorry about how we acted. Mum never mentioned that it was her who cheated. We thought it was you, and that it must have been with Marie. And Paul made it sound like he was paying for everything after you. Just left us. I don't care, as long as I can get my kids back again." Jack joined in. "You're wrong about Paul. We don't really like him. He's a prick." I tried not to laugh. Honestly, I did. That's not the impression you gave Jack. We thought that if you weren't seeing us, well, that you might come back." "That is never going to happen, Jack. Things are over with me and your mum. She's moved on, but I want to be there for you both." Amy picked up for Jack. "The thing is, Dad, we think Mum feels the same way. He isn't really here that much, but turns up if you are due to pick us up. They argue a lot and it's often about you. I find that hard to believe. Your mum's been nothing but a bye. Well, she's been difficult to deal with since we split. I'd go as far as to say she hates me." "I don't think so, Dad. I think she knows she made a mistake." I was sitting in Kate's human resources office at work. My nose was bust, and I was trying not to bleed all over what looked like an expensive carpet. Kate was furious when she saw me. "Jesus, Jim, fighting at work. It's gross misconduct. I will have to dismiss you." "What's the matter? Worried about losing out on the child support?" It's pathetic. Grown men fighting. You realize we had to call an ambulance for Bob. Good, he deserved it. I thought I did quite well considering there were 3 of them. Grow up, Jim. This is a total disaster. It's so bad the old man is coming in. Turner burst in then. I tried not to smile at his swollen lip and the bruised cheek. He immediately started shouting that he and half of his team had been attacked, demanding the police be called and the assault reported, in addition to my instant dismissal. I looked at Kate. Do you want to know what actually happened before you sack me? I mean, I thought that was your job after all. A deep voice resonated across the room. I do. I turned to see old man Chisholm, the chairman and founder of Chisholm Engineering. He rarely attended the factory these days, but still had an imposing presence and reputation to match. Weirdly, Josh was standing next to him. Turner launched into an explanation. It was an unprovoked attack in the canteen against me and 2 of my team. An unprovoked attack by 1 man. Taking on 3 seems a bit odd, don't you think? Well, I probably swung first, but seeing as I was outnumbered, I wasn't going to wait about. I thought I saw Chisholm stifle a smile. Kate went on. We will have no option but to dismiss you and call the police, Jim. You had already threatened Paul. I heard it myself. Nothing somebody says, conjuvity says, can justify an assault. Aren't you going to ask what provoked it? I presume it's jealousy over mine and Paul's relationship. No, it's been months of harassment by him and the guys from his department. Paul was almost hyperventilating. That's total rubbish and just a pathetic excuse. Josh spoke up then. I can confirm everything Jim said is true. Paul looked at him with disdain. Who the fuck are you? If you know what's good for you, you'll keep your nose out of other people's business. Chisholm answered, Josh is my grandson, and I'd believe him all day long over someone like you. I got over my surprise and produced my phone, skipping back and pressing play. Hey Cocky, our boss was late in this morning. He was probably giving your missus a good seeing too. Everyone in the room got uncomfortable. I saw the look Kate gave Turner. I flicked back through the recordings. You do know she was fucking him for months before you separated. Did you know? Are you one of those cuck faggots that like to see your wife getting pipe laid into her? Kate's face turned crimson while Turner shouted, This is total bullshit. I skipped back again. The next voice was Turner's. It's a shame you were late for work all those times, Jim, and you didn't get the manager's role. I looked at Kate. Have you ever known me to be late for work? Ever in all the time we've been here? He blocked it and told me so. Told me to move away as it would happen every time. I flicked forward to the recording from the canteen. It was Bob Marsden's voice. Paul says she's a great fuck and a right go. Once he's broken her in, we're going to have a little party with all the boys. We might even be able to involve that cute little daughter of yours. The sound of scuffling and the fight followed before the recording cut off. It was the last comment I reacted to. You're still the mother of my kids, and the mention of Amy, well. Kate glared at Turner. He shifted uncomfortably. I didn't know that idiot Bob was going to say that. He was just trying to wind him up. Old man Chisholm spoke. Officially, everyone involved is suspended pending investigation and disciplinary hearings. Unofficially, Tuna, get the fuck out of my building and take your cronies with you. Anyone calling the police will never work in the industry again. You were on borrowed time anyway. Worst appointment I ever made. Don't even think out fucking with me, you will regret it. He nodded at a security guard outside the door who came in, and then escorted Turner away. Chisholm turned to me. In light of everything, I'd say you handled it well, but you should have come to me. Go home, Jim. Get cleaned up, Kate. We need to talk. I can't believe this type of behavior has gone unnoticed, even ignoring your role in things. As HR director, you should have been aware of. What was happening? Tears were rolling down Kate's cheeks. You do know it's not true, Jim. It wasn't months. It wasn't months. It was once, and I regretted it as soon as it happened. I walked out with Josh and thanked him for both the backup and the advice and offered to buy him a pint or many. I'd love to, but I have to travel for a regiment thing on Sunday. I usually just take myself off into the hills for some peace, but they have roped me in for something official. No trouble. Next time though. And what's that about the old man being your granddad? I didn't like to broadcast it or take advantage. I was going to mention your troubles to him, but I figured you needed to find your own solution, and then I'd help. After all, he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. I started laughing. Now I know that one is an old army quote, if you count Shakespeare and Henry V. Josh chuckled. That's the one, Band of Brothers. They used it in officer training. Kate came to my flat that night. I let her in begrudgingly, asking what had happened with Chisholm. He confirmed Paul and the two involved in the fight are to be dismissed. Others in the team admitted to your harassment and stated Paul put them up to it. I was reprimanded and put on a final written warning. Are they going to the police about the fight? No. The guys admitted the harassment and want to keep it quiet. They're claiming it was just a disagreement that got out of hand. Did you speak to Turner? Ask him why. He wanted rid of you because he thought I was still in love with you. He said the conversations were to make you snap and get you finished from work, but that you never took the bait, you just ignored them. Is he crazy? You don't cheat on someone, lie to them, and treat them like shit if you love them. You've treated me like crap for months. I would go as far as to say you even enjoy causing me pain. Kate started crying hysterically. None of this was supposed to happen. It was a mistake. Then you weren't supposed to find out, and you weren't supposed to leave me. Everything possible went wrong. I thought if you missed the kids and your life was rubbish, you might give me another chance, but it didn't happen. Paul was more about trying to make you jealous than anything else. I don't have any real feelings for him. So you were a bitch because you wanted me back. Seriously. Take responsibility for your actions, Kate. You caused it all. I have no idea who you are. The woman I married would never have done those things. She was kind and caring. Where did she go? I fucked everything up when I realized you weren't coming back, and with the divorce, I thought I had to see it through. The kids, our friends, and my family wouldn't believe what I had done. John and Rob refused to be in the same room as us. I haven't seen their wives or families in months. I had to prove I could make it work with him. Otherwise, I had thrown everything away for nothing. I had to prove I made the right decision and that he was the better man. My life with Paul had to be perfect, and the more I diminished you, the better my decisions would appear. I tried to make it seem like a love affair, but it was never that. He was arrogant and selfish, but there was no going back by then. What a fucking mess. And you got the kids mixed up in all that shit. I am so sorry. I needed to try and put things right, but had no idea how. I didn't realize how badly it affected your relationship with them. Great. Yet another apology. I've heard what you said. I will change my actions so I don't need to keep apologizing. At least it's over with him. He is gone now, and I need you. And so do the kids. They are really angry with me. I thought maybe we could try again. I've never stopped loving you. I couldn't believe it. I was so certain she hated me. It gave me pause for thought, but not a long pause. There is no way back, Kate. Not for me. The bond and trust we had are gone. I am not trying to hurt you, just trying my best to cope and get my life back on track. I met John and Rob for a pint on Sunday morning. They blasted me for not responding to all of their calls and texts. I tried to explain why. The wives were close and Paul was Rob's brother after all. Rob laughed. He's no brother of mine. I haven't spoken to the prick since that night in the pub. Just as well too. Otherwise, I would knock his block off. John explained the wives hadn't seen much of Kate initially. They were back in touch now, and saying Kate regretted everything. She thought if she hadn't started seeing Paul again, and had been more reasonable, we might have gotten back together again. I wasn't sure about that, but I was sure it was good to talk to friends again. We had started catching up about other things in our life when I happened to glance up at the TV screen. There, in the full dress uniform of the Royal Fusiliers, was Josh, laying a wreath at the cenotaph in front of royalty and the great and the good of the land. He had an array of medals on this chest. I turned up the sound to hear the commentary explaining how Josh had won the Victoria Cross, rescuing fellow Fusiliers under heavy fire and repeatedly going back, before being blown unconscious by a rocket-propelled grenade. They went on to explain his struggles through recuperation. I was staggered. I had no idea what Josh and others had to cope with, and my plight paled in comparison. Actually, contrary to stories, once Kate stopped being a bitch, life was pretty good. I saw the kids more than scheduled, plus all the sports and events. It was informal shared custody. They stayed whenever they felt like it, and always seemed happy to see me. The child maintenance service reduced what I was paying, offsetting the mortgage as they suggested. I got a promotion at work and a huge bonus payment. Chisholm said he wanted to avoid any harassment claim or a constructive dismissal case. I got back into some old hobbies and planned to travel more. I was flabbergasted when Marie turned up at my new terraced cottage. We hadn't spoken for months, and I didn't think she knew where I lived. I invited her in, somewhat uncertainly. "I am here at Amy and Jack's request, Jim." They apologized and explained everything. "Amy mentioned you weren't dating anyone." "How did they even know how to contact you?" "I suspect Kate gave them my number," I called her, and she confirmed what the kids said and that she accepted you. Both needed to move on. Things were getting surreal. "It seems both your kids and ex-wife think you're the best thing since sliced bread, and that I would be an idiot not to go out with you." I mean, sliced bread. Seems a bit much, don't you think? Maybe the best thing since the steam engine, though. Sorry it's an engineering thing. I'd have to go for the calculator or computers. I am an accountant after all. Either way, I'd like to find out for myself, Jim. Yeah, I'd like that as well, Marie. Very much. We started dating again and our relationship grew. It was friendship and company initially, and then passion and intimacy. All of the things money can't buy. Who knows where we will end up? All I can say is it's going well so far. Did I just get lucky? Maybe. But I'd like to think I stopped behaving like a victim, and to some extent, at least you make your own luck. I stopped accepting the crap other people were giving me and learned to stand up for myself again, and so far the results are great. I am never taking that for granted, though. Life has a funny habit of tripping you up when you least expect it. That's the end of this story. If you found it engaging, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.